Are you hunting now or?
Um, I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna be out there probably all day the next 2 days, and the weather's looking really good for it too.
Gotcha.
It front just came through. It's supposed to be overcast and I mean not super cold, but it doesn't really need to be. Highs in the low
Yeah.
50s and then down into the 30s. I mean that's all you really need. It's going to be
Yes.
overcast all day. Switch to a north wind, north northwest. We haven't really had a dominant westerly wind yet, really.
No, we've
But
been
for,
carrying a lot of east southeast winds here recently, and it's been a bummer, honestly. It's none of my obviously we don't set anything up here for a east wind of any kind really, because that would normally we're setting up on the north northwest winds.
yeah, and usually it's the opposite where like you're dominating that westerly this time of year and then you get that one or two easts that usually are good just because everything kind of flip-flops. It seems like
Yeah.
it always seemed like bucks moved well in easts because you didn't get them a lot, whether that's just because they're moving where they're bedding. They're just they had to move just because where they were at just wasn't good for whether that was cruising or what they were doing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Gets them up and moving in a different way, I guess, a different direction because of the switch in the wind on them. Gives them a different channel to chase because they don't normally chase on that's not a normal wind pattern. But so yeah, it's
Yeah.
things are things are starting to pick up here. We're starting to see dead deer on the side of the road now. So it's things are getting
Yeah.
run out in the roads with bucks and
Seems like every morning there's carvers, deers all over the place. It seems like whether and especially in the morning.
yeah.
Well, you're the scrape doctor. We're going to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, it's hot time for grapes.
Yeah, I mean it's going to work out perfectly because this episode will drop here on Friday, hopefully, if I get it edited and done without being in the woods the
Okay.
next 2 days. But if it happens, it happens. I'm going to try my best. If I need to stay up late and get a little bit less sleep, I'm going to try to do it just because that's just been every Friday I've dropped one, so I don't really want to not do it just so I can stay consistent. I feel like people appreciate the consistency.
Yeah,
Not that it really matters, um
it matters.
but yeah, I'm excited to be out there for, the next couple days all day, just spend all day out there, kind of bounce around, check some cameras I haven't checked all year on scrapes and stuff. But I wanted to dive in with you, take a deep dive on scrapes, maybe learn a little bit for myself because we're like right in the peak right now of utilizing scrapes and the deer scraping activity. They might be laid down.
Yeah.
The scrapes might be opened up and laid down already, but they're definitely checking them right now, and they probably will be for the next week until they really start chasing hard, I think, at
Yeah.
least here. And the weather's setting up perfectly for
Hmm.
them to do that, getting a little moisture come through and then good temps and stuff. But I want you to dive into maybe introduce yourself, where you're at right now, how you started hunting, and then kind of just however you want to transition into talking about the scrape doctor, why you started that, and kind of a little bit about it.
Yeah. My name's James Holm. I am the scrape doctor. Started hunting when like everyone else, my family hunted. All my dad, my uncles, everybody around me hunted. So of course, we got to go to deer camp with dad and the uncles and do all of that stuff because it's fun. We go to the woods, we tromp around, all of that, have a good time. And then there's always that you're a young kid and they let you have a gun. You get to carry a gun around and it goes bang and you get to shoot at stuff. So we were
Mm-hmm.
having a grant. We grew up in the 80s, you know what I mean? So it was a different time then. Kids were allowed to be kids and kids got to be adults as kids. Whereas
Yep.
now that's really not, it's not quite the same as it was then. Things are much more controlled. Probably not for the worse, but not necessarily for the better either. Um, so that's kind of how I got started, just like everybody else with the family. It was a tradition. It was family tradition. So we did that. Then we had a deer camp for a long time. Um, Went away from that and I started to kind of hunt on my own. The bow hunting thing, my dad wasn't a bow hunter. My uncles weren't. It was always gun season. They were gun hunters. So, and I was always involved with the bow hunting thing because of Trost actually has got me introduced to Fred Bear with Michigan Out of Doors up here. And Fred Bear is from here locally in Grayling where the bow factory was. not too about
Sure.
an hour from here. So that was kind of a big part of my life. The recurve bow was the first thing we started with back then because there weren't any real compounds yet. It wasn't, we were kind of on the edge of when the compound was coming in. So the recurve was king still. And I had one of those, and as a kid, you just had you felt like you had unlimited supplies of things because your parent, you know what I mean? I need arrows, I need arrows, I need arrows, because you lose them, they're gone, blah, blah, blah. So
Sure.
started to learn quick. The equipment had to last. You had to keep the stuff good and keep it in good condition to hunt with it, because if you were just out when it came that time, too bad. So, you know, you learn quickly to separate your target stuff, your shoot practice stuff from your hunting stuff.
Yep.
And then fast forward to the woods, you get climbing to a tree stand, and I'm in a tree stand, and I'm watching deer come down a logging trail, and every deer, and I can't see exactly what they're doing. They've stopped behind a limb that's hanging in my way, but they're past that, and they've stopped. Every deer comes by, there stops, and I see them there moving around behind that brush. Can't figure out what they're doing. I thought,
Hmm.
so went in there one morning, and every deer again, and they wouldn't come my way. They turned and walked through up into the hardwoods away from me every time. And I was
Yep.
aggravated because I wanted them to come by me, you know, and there was just no
Hmm.
making them do it. So I got down, walked down there, and I looked, and there was a giant scrape under a branch that had a bunch of busted licking branches. Now I didn't know what they were then. I just knew the ground was I knew that was a scrape, but had no idea what the licking branch part of that really meant, and what the ramifications of that branch was. So in my mind, I said, well, if they're doing that here where I can't see them, I'm going to go over there on the other side of that big bushy branch where I can't see, and I'm going to make one there. So I went down
Yeah.
there and I cleared, like, seriously, it felt like I cleared 2 acres of leaves off the logging trail under this branch. And I walked down and I just picked up dirt with my hands out of that scrape and took it down and threw it on the ground under that other tree branch that was hanging there, and threw it on the ground, went back up in the tree, sat there. No deer came at all that morning.
Hmm.
Went back that afternoon. First deer came down, went to the first spot, and then just like some miracle, stuck its head up, sniffed. I could see it, and it walked right over to where I'd done all that fresh stuff. Walked over, pawed around at the dirt that I picked up and threw there. Went into the branch above, made a licking branch, and walked right past me and got it. It was a button buck, and the light bulb went on at that moment. Said, you have to do this. You have to do this all the time. So of course I said what I did to my dad, my uncles, and all them, and that was foolishness, and you're wasting your time. And for a lot of years I've heard, you're wasting your time, and that doesn't work, and you can't kill deer like that. We all know better. I knew better
Yeah.
then at 14, at 14 and 15 years old. I saw it happen, and yes, it was a button buck, but it lit that fuse. It planted that seed, and it made me want to recreate that over and over and over. Um, and make these deer continually do that. Every time I was in the tree stand, I wanted a deer to come and stop in front of me. Um, because let's face it, when we're young, we want to fling arrows at everything that stops. So,
Yeah.
I was there to collect deer. So, um, that's where the mock scrape thing kind of started for me, was when I couldn't get the deer to go where I wanted them, when I wanted them. So I thought I would make them. Well, it clearly isn't as easy as all of that, but at that moment, my mind said, well, if I can do it once, I can do it every time. So it just kind of through the years has progressed. Um, and then
Sure. So.
fast forward like my whole life forward, right? All the way to
Mhm.
adulthood. Obviously, I've hunted all around and done a lot of cool stuff and been a lot of places. And now for this thing to come full circle, I've been with other companies, I've done other things, and now here we are. My wife decided after some trial and error that we needed to do this thing on our own. So the Scrape Doctor was kind of born then out of that. So it all started with my poison ivy vine that we have, which is a very rigid, stiff. It's like a real grapevine. built like that, very stiff and heavy,
Hmm.
wrapped with hemp rope and a vine on the end, and it hangs. Those usually turn into your communal hubs. They normally, you hang one of those somewhere at the right location and at the right height, and that seems to be the product that we have that will become very communal very quickly. You'll have every deer in the woods coming to that spot pretty quick. So, and then we've got the full line of just hemp ropes. We've got a short one, a medium one, and now I've got a real long one, a 4-footer, and our Scrape Magic, which is the star of the show. That's my synthetic preorbital gland that has just it's it's creating serious patterns and behavior in deer that people aren't used to see out of deer with any kind of attractant that you put on a licking branch or anything. A lot of people are now saying, I've never seen anything work like this fast.
How many years was it in between you kind of that light bulb going off, saying, I want to really dive into scrapes and I want to make this part of my hunting strategy? You talked about all the different products you've tried and trial and error. How many years
Yeah.
was it from that first
Oh.
time when that light bulb went off to when you kind of started making your own stuff and going down that rabbit hole, I guess?
Um, Honestly, it's that, yeah, that back then, all there was, honestly, back then, all there was like tinks. That's all we had was tinks, and there were some others. I think Pollock's lures was around then. I was a trapper, a fur trapper as a kid. So I could access things that were useful in deer hunting as well as in the trapping world.
You understood scents before they were kind of a thing.
I understood the sense and how to put animals in small spaces quickly as a child because I was a trapper and I was taught by old school trappers who trap for a living, so they had to be good at it. Um, so that rabbit hole opened up quickly for me. I was diving down that right away because I wanted the same reaction out of deer that I could get out of, say, a mink or a fox. I wanted that deer to come up and stick his nose in that same place, just like I wanted that animal to step in that trap pan every time. Well, if that deer has 40 acres to pick a spot to go and make a scrape, and I get him to stick his nose in a spot that's as big as a pie plate every single day for a month, I've done something. It doesn't matter what deer that is. If that deer continually and consistently goes to that spot, you've created that. They didn't do it on their own. If you've put something there to draw them there and cause that, you've done that. So the rabbit hole for me was early, long, and it's been very bumpy because you try a lot of things along the way from different companies. Like I said, you got Tinks, you've got Smokies, you've got all these companies that produce lures and attractants, and you've got to be careful and read the labels. Don't buy a label because it's shiny and fancy and it says, "Look at this, a huge buck will come if you know what I mean," because that's not
Yeah.
reality, but that's marketing. Huge bucks sell.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not knocking a single guy that uses them because we use big bucks to help us. I mean, it's part of what we do in the industry.
Right.
So, I mean,
Um, I don't want to get like too specific at all. I don't think that it needs to be that complicated, but I think everybody kind of has the assumption 100% natural or real is better than something when you say the word synthetic. Like, what's the
correct.
difference between that and maybe the advantage of synthetic actually in the grand scheme of things over something that's 100% natural as far as whether that's urine or orbital gland or any kind of scent?
Right. Well, I mean the biggest benefit to using a synthetic is cost. 100% hands down. I mean, I don't know honestly, I don't know the breakdowns for real glands versus synthetic preorbital glands. Real preorbital glands I know are super expensive. And depending on how liberally you use it and all of that, how long is that going to last? I don't know. The amount of scrapes that I make in a season, it wouldn't last me very long. So that's the difference there mostly is cost.
The cost and then maybe lasting a little bit longer as far as not necessarily like the shelf life, and maybe it does, but like once it's applied out in the field to where it can maybe withstand a little bit more moisture, or it just, you don't have to refreshen that or use it as much of it, like you said, and it would last longer than something that's
And our scrape magic is not has no urine base of any kind in it. It's strictly a gland-based synthetic. The base is synthetic preorbital with other stuff added to trigger other instinctual behavior, rubbing, fighting, just flat possessiveness of space. Everybody will say
Yeah.
that deer are not territorial. Well, I beg to differ. Deer fight over everything all the time. I don't know where that logic came from, that deer are not territorial. They're very territorial over everything they own. Their space, their
Right.
food. I mean, we've seen it. They'll thump their own fawns for food. So, but sorry, I'm going off another tangent there on something totally different than what we were talking about. So, but yeah,
No.
and cost is for me is the biggest difference. And
Hmm.
that cost for all parts of this synthetic versus real urine, my synthetic urine versus real urine, you can't compare cost. It's impossible. And real urine, limited time that you're going to be able to get that. You can't get estrus urine in December normally from a deer farm unless it's forced. Well, then you're manipulating deer then, and then it's not natural estrus. So you may as well buy synthetic and save you money. In my
Right.
opinion, it's better at that point. So
Yeah. So
that's, I mean, honestly, in a nutshell, I don't have a whole lot more than just cost, truthfully. I mean, we don't, using the synthetic stuff, you don't have to pass a huge cost onto the consumers. And there's an unlimited supply of
right.
synthetics. You never run out of that. Well, what happens if they can't get preorbital gland anymore? What happens if that market dries up for these guys? Well, they just lost their business because they don't have any other glands. Where are they going to get them? You know, if that market dries up.
Sure. I would imagine mock scrapes are something that you utilize on properties that you
Yeah.
can kind of manipulate. It's not as big of a thing on some public lands, some highly pressured areas. You don't necessarily want to draw people's attention to something like that. They do work in certain big areas that, you know, certain circumstances you can
They
make them
do
work.
work. Honestly, they can work on public land that's heavily pressured if you're local to that area. And these people, because usually if you're local to a public land area and you're really hunting it, you're there quite often and you know about it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
most guys just show up 2 weeks before season, throw a stand or a blind in, and they're ready to go. So the way I do things and the things that I do with the system that I use for myself and other places that I go, I can go into public land without ropes and without all these things and do that in there. That same thing that I do with ropes and my other products without using all of that to draw all that outside attention and still manipulate that trap and that destination pattern
sure.
and draw it away from them. The only thing you're fighting there is a lot of public land around here you're going to have to fight with a huge acorn drop early season, which pulls deer off scrapes and away from everywhere else. And that's where they go when they vanish. The acorns are dropping, you know?
Sure.
So, but yes, it is a different situation completely on private land where you can fully manipulate what you're doing and control it. Really, you have your complete control.
I don't have tons of experience. I grew up hunting private land. I kind of understood, and my family understood how deer naturally move through areas, and we never had to implement mock scrapes or never really got into it.
Mhm.
We probably could have and had success knowing what I know years later, but we just never, that's something we never did. So when you're, let's
Yeah.
just say, for example, we'll differentiate maybe after a way that you would maybe make it different on a public land piece or somewhere you don't monitor, like you said, as often. But let's say you have every condition that you can control. It's on your private land. Someone who wants to implement like a mock scrape. How are you setting those up? Like as far as with your ropes, how high off the ground are you doing them? What scents are you using as for the first time? How often do you
Right.
freshen them? Just everything your system when you do that.
Yeah. Well, honestly, if it's something that I have complete control of, the first thing I'm going to look for is somewhere. And before we even go into that whole thing, what I'm not necessarily looking for the location to set a mock scrape that I'm going to actually hunt over. I may not hunt over this scrape, this first one that I make, the best one, because I'm looking for the communal hub. I want to create a hub. So I'm looking for intersecting travel ways, pinches, small pinches that lead to like your staging areas into your food plots, the small that
Mhm.
little staging window where they'll stop and look. Um, I'll set them there. That's where we'll hang a poison ivy a lot of times. And those we're hanging, we found now that honestly the optimum height for that is 36 inches off the ground. That's how high we're hanging those up down. So you're looking at waist height is where you're at, right at your waist usually, unless you're extremely tall, and then you're going to have to be down lower than that on your body. But if you take a tape measure, we've done it with an actual tape, measured it, hung it at 36. The deer can reach it. All the deer, fawns, does, bucks, young bucks, old bucks, all of them. And they like it, they work it. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm looking for initially, is a spot to set up that communal hub. And then I'm going to branch from that and start making satellite scrapes from there, is what I call them. Everyone has their own name for them. Um,
Sure.
and I'll go away from them and lead them to my stand and away from my stand off that same hub. That way you've always got an entrance and an exit, and it doesn't matter which way the deer go to me. It's one or the other. I don't care. But the pattern emerges, and then you know which it is. In the mornings, they show up, so it's an entrance. They leave in the evening, it's an exit. Simple as that. So I lead the deer to where I'm at, and there will be a scrape with a rope or something within shot of my stand, um, within range of my stand, but it probably will not be the main scrape. It may not get hit every day, even. It may get hit every 3 4 days. It might be one of those satellite scrapes that nobody really cares about. So it just is one there that draws their attention. When they come out, they hit it, their attention's on that, not on me, and they get whacked. So um
Sure.
that's kind of what I'm looking for there. And all of this stuff gets broken up by ropes. And I do use a lot of natural foliage and vines and things like that. I think people get confused sometimes that because we produce all these ropes and this stuff, that's all we use is just ropes. And that's just not the case. I mean, we use everything we have at our advantage: natural foliage, branches, vines, cedar posts buried in food plots, you name it. We do everything everyone else does. We're just using our own things. And I put my own spin and twist on all this stuff, the
I
way that I lay it out.
Regardless of where it's at as far as private, public, where in the country, I feel like it's universal that a hot scrape is in the right location. I feel like location is the
Yeah,
biggest thing because, like you were talking about, you could have a property where said scrape, it's a very good location for a scrape. There might not be an overhanging branch nearby,
right,
or you kind of have to doctor it up, no pun intended, but whether
right.
by a rope or what have you, because the location's right. It just doesn't have that
There's
overhanging
just
limb
nothing
because if
there
there
to
was, there
create.
probably
There's
would be a
nothing,
scrape there.
no catalyst. The catalyst isn't there yet, which is that licking branch or rope, or the licking branch is the rope. It's just a rope. That's all there is to that. So the deer doesn't know that it's a rope. They just know that it's there to rub on, and they like it because it's rigid and stiff and it's scratchy on them, and they can lay scent down on it. So, and we've got on our just a rope squared, it's got a piece of vine sticking out of the end where they can really jab that into that preorbital gland and really we've got some videos this year now of a couple good bucks on our place. And I'm gonna drop a shameless plug here for this new fantastic place that's coming up fast out of Ohio, where we're doing a lot of work with our stuff. It's Bunker Hill Adventures. Just keep that name in your mind. We're gonna lay down some big bucks this year. That's where I killed that buck this year, the one that I just killed. Not
Mhm.
anywhere near the quality that's really there. I'm not gonna lie, I got my heart thumping on that first good rack that come walking out in front of me, and he got it. That's all there is to that. I was excited and had never gotten a buck in Ohio, and he looked plenty good to me. So that's where that was in the truck.
And was that over some sort of I'm guessing it was over some sort of a scrape or nearby?
He had just come from a back food plot, hit a rope, zigzag through, hit another rope. I watched him hit the rope and rub on it a little bit, and there was another little buck in the food plot. And the little buck decided to walk over there, and I thought, well, you're not very smart at all. gonna walk right over there, gonna get thumped. And he got about 25 yards from him, and the bigger buck started walking towards him, and he decided he was not gonna hang around and talk. So he come running over around me, and I immediately, when that deer started walking towards me, my mind said, if he walks up here and turns broadside, I'm gonna shoot him. I mean, I immediately went to that mode, had everything ready to go, and it was just a matter of him doing what he needed to do, and he did it. It was like on a string. He just walked up, turned broadside. It was 21 yards, I think, is what it was on the range. So, and
Did
he
you have
ran
them
about.
did you have them consistently on any scraping systems or
He was
scrapes? Is that like brand new deer?
he was yeah, he was on several of the ropes on a regular basis. That was actually I think that was only the second time, first, maybe the third time that we had him during the day, in the daylight. He had been in there several times. He kind of just showed up out of nowhere. He was a new deer. He wasn't one of our regulars. He just
Sure.
showed up on one of the ropes. And we get that a lot too. New deer just turn up. I mean, not that that's something new, that people don't get new deer turning up in their scrapes all the time, but it does seem like we have a lot of older class bucks that just show up out of nowhere. Not so much those yearlings and 2 year olds. We have a lot of the 3, 4, and 5 year old class just kind of out of nowhere, and here they are.
Yeah.
Didn't know they even existed. They showed up. I mean, as far as consistent, he was consistent for as long as he was there, which wasn't a real long time. He wasn't on the property more than maybe 10 days, I think, is all he was there, and that was that.
I guess I was gonna say a little bit of ask a question kind of related. Over the years, you've been doing this a long time. What have you seen as far as like that cycle? Like how often? I'm sure it depends on the deer's personality. They're all different, age class. Like there's so many things, the area you're in,
Yeah.
so many different factors. But if you had to put like what you've seen at an average, how consistent are bucks being once they find a scrape? Are they I think everybody
And
has this theory that they're going to find this just super hot scrape, hang a camera over it, and then all of a sudden they get a picture in daylight of this buck, and then they're going to sit there and he's going to come back every single day until they kill him, which I've never
yeah,
really seen that happen ever, whether that's private, public, wherever.
yeah,
How often are you seeing these bucks make whatever their loop or hit scrapes?
yeah. This time of year is probably when, right now, this time of year, this week, 10 days that's coming. And then early in the season, when they're still kind of on that summer pattern, if you get these states that open the end of September, that last week of September, they're really consistent in those scrapes still, because they're in the summer patterns. And the first week of October too. But then once that first week of October goes away, those bachelor groups break up. So now they start to come in. What I see is they start to come now in waves of age class. Now you've got your year and a half and 2.5 year old bucks running together, kind of hitting all these scrapes, and they're fooling around. They're the ones we see fighting already and sparring hard early on, and they're the first ones when you first hear everybody say, "Oh, the rut started. Here comes the rut," because the bucks are fighting in the food plot while they're just these little guys, don't know what
Yeah.
else to do but push each other around. Well, and then I think, honestly, in my opinion, and it's probably, I'm sure, wrong to most people, but it doesn't matter because it's mine. I think these 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old bucks, I think they spend a lot of time alone. I don't think
Mm.
they like to be with the younger group, and they can't get with the older bucks because they won't let them yet. So they're kind of stuck in limbo. So I don't know that the 3-year-olds are the ones that get killed the most because they're on their feet the most, checking these scrapes. We start to see those pattern out very easily, the 3-year-olds. It's almost, you'll get these waves of year and a half, 2.5 year olds, then the 3-year-olds will hit the scrape all on the same day within hours, is what it is. They cycle through, and then your mature bucks will hit them early in the morning, just before dark, depending on your locations, and then into the dark, you know what I mean? And then into the dark. This time of the year, in the summertime, we don't get a whole lot. We don't get nighttime pictures. And then the first part of the season, it's daylight. We've conditioned these deer to these scrapes because we run them year round. So we keep the pattern running continuous. So they're on their feet during the day a lot. That's a
Yeah.
huge, that's another huge, that's probably, honestly, that's probably a whole episode all on its own. This whole thing that I just was talking about, flipping this pattern of daylight to dark, dark to daylight.
Yeah. I
Because a lot
guess.
of our pictures, when we first start these scrapes, the first initial picture will be a deer in the dark. The first picture you
Mhm.
get's a deer at night. They come to the rope, they come to the whatever. And then the next thing you know, you go, there's no more pictures in the dark. These deer are all in the daytime. I don't have any nighttime pictures. And then bang, you get another nighttime picture. Well, it's a new deer. They showed up on the scrape. Well, then there's another day, no more nighttime pictures for a while. So that's what we're accomplishing with a lot of this.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a learning curve to know when the conditions are right and when to just trust yourself, knowing that the conditions are right, that the
Mhm.
odds that they flip their pattern and daylight and hit that scrape, when that's going to be. It takes years, and honestly, nobody's perfect yet at doing that,
No,
but you can have
no.
a pretty good idea. How often a buck hits a specific scrape, do you think states that he is not that far away? He might not be hitting it every day, but how often does he hit that scrape? But then in your head, you just know, well, he's not far. He's just making that round and actually hitting that scrape this often.
If it's a known buck,
Yeah, how often does that need to be, like him hitting that scrape for you to think, okay, he's close and eventually he's going to hit this in daylight and then I'll make my move when I know it's right? Or if it's in, how, I guess we'll just leave it at that. How often does it need to
if
be?
it's consist, if it's yeah, I call that. I honestly, if they're not on it every day but they're there regularly, that's consistently inconsistent. You know he's going to show up, but it's now you're guessing. You know, this is where the chess game kind of comes in with these bigger bucks, these older bucks. You
Yep.
got to decide. So now I may force it. I may go. I may. I'm not afraid to chase him off. If I chase him off, I chase him off. It happens. I've done it a lot. I mean, you don't do what I'm doing and not scare things away sometimes. So I may go in and put a second camera in on another angle to catch his in and out to that scrape when he is coming. Okay, so because he may still be coming to that scrape, but not coming in front of that camera. He may stand off to the side and scent check that to see if any other deer have been in it and then not come at all. He may not walk right up to it. And
Mhm.
they don't have to come directly to that scrape to check it. They can stand off downwind of it, lip curl, catch everything they need to catch and be gone without ever walking to that licking branch.
Yep.
And if they stand back and they're satisfied that no other rival bucks or deer they're interested in have been there, they'll leave. If not, they walk over and do their business. And then but then you know which way he's come from one way or the other.
Yep.
Because you're gonna catch him on second camera. So
Yep.
I'll do that first. And then if I still, I guess if that way if you've catch him skirting, you've caught him. You know what I mean? You don't need to do anything other than go and hang and hunt if that's how you hunt or whatever you need to do. Make the plan from there because if he's daylighting near that scrape or in that scrape every day, you should probably get in and kill him and be done with it before he goes
Right.
back somewhere, whether it's nocturnal or he just vanishes and goes and
Mhm.
lays down somewhere and doesn't come back for a while.
Right. I think that's something that I've always wanted to do, and I might just bite the bullet next year and just do it. I didn't this year, I was going to. I've found a couple good scrapes last year that were like hub community scrapes that big deer were consistently hitting. And when I say consistent, I might get them actually hitting that scrape multiple times a week, whether that's one day it's in the daylight, one's at night. But I can assume that he's living in that area. And like you said,
Like,
he might be coming through there more often than that, which I would have to assume is the case, but he may be doing it downwind at 50 to 100 yards
yeah.
and not having to
And as
actually
far
hit
as how
that
far
scrape
away
every
he
day.
stays, and as far as how far away he stays, if that's his scrape and he's really using that one as his own, like we're talking about, he's not very far away. He's
Right.
probably not more than 50 yards from that scrape, if that. You know what I mean? And he's going to be probably on the downwind side of it. And you're not going to sneak up on him. You know what I mean? You're not going to sneak in while he's in there and catch him back there. You're going to have to hunt on the outside edges and catch him coming in. That's why I want to hang that other camera to catch him coming or going and know which direction, so that because even if you hang up outside of that, you're going to catch him circling, or you're going to catch him doing something. He's going to make a mistake.
Right.
But the window closes fast.
Yep.
With that, for those bigger bucks that behave like that. We all know that. And I've said this a lot of times as well. I don't tell people that use our stuff and you're guaranteed big bucks in your scrapes, giant mature bucks, because I wouldn't feel right telling people that you're going to have big bucks. If there's a mature buck near that scrape that you set up and he gets wind of this scrape magic, there's a high probability that buck's coming to that scrape. You're going to get him on camera, at least coming cruising past it to check it, to scent check it. I've had several conversations with a guy in Illinois, Tony Washnock, that he just made a comment on one of my posts the other day that he's been doing this 20 years and he's never had deer react to something as early as they do, like scrape magic. It absolutely drives these deer crazy. So, I mean, we're doing what we need to do. We just need to get it in front of more people to show it off, is all there is to that.
Yep. And I've never been a person to utilize scrapes as something to hunt over. I've never killed a buck working a scrape per se, but I've always been a person hunting public land that I use scrapes to take inventory, what's in that area, soak a camera on it for the full season to see just what deer are there. And I did pick up a couple bottles of your scrape magic, and I've used them this year, as far as that's where I set my cameras. I set them up over scrapes that are year to year getting used. That's a whole different, we could probably do a whole podcast on differentiating certain types of scrapes, as far as if it's a scrape deer made one time when he was all fired up and never is going to make it again. But I'm talking community scrapes that does use, bucks use, and it's every single year. Yep. And I don't have that many cell cameras out to get that real-time data, just because I've kind of gotten away from them.
Yeah.
Just for my enjoyment of everything, for different reasons we don't need to get into, but I do have a couple out on new spots that I have found, just to kind of see spots that I've used the scrape magic. And within 24 hours, I've had multiple bucks hit scrapes, and I wouldn't even say that those scrapes are community scrapes. They're in the right spot. The ground wasn't tore up, but they had the licking branches there and it was in the right location. So kind of talk about the importance of, I think when everybody thinks scrapes, they think of the ground. Talk about more of the licking branch and how important the licking branch is overall in a scrape's effectiveness.
In my opinion, a mock scrape is the licking branch. It matters. That's all that matters, is that licking branch. When I first open a scrape on the ground, when I open a mock, it's as big as my foot. Just some bare dirt is all I want. And I don't put anything in it, because now mind you, most of my mocks get made in April and May and June is when I'm making the bulk of these scrapes. So I open the dirt up just to get that fresh earth smell. Well, that gets them walking by and they go, oh, hey, what's that? They smell it and then they go, hey, what's that? And then bang, they're hooked. They got it. So the licking branch is the mock scrape, and the effectiveness of the licking branch is determined by the location of that licking branch. If you can have the greatest location in the world, and then what happens to all of those licking branches? They all get used up and broken off and they can't reach them anymore. That's when we start seeing them go up to reach. There's nothing there. So that's when you find that kind of a location, that is a communal spot. You need to hang something there permanent that's never going to go away, which is a rope, vines, anything big and substantial that you can keep there forever and not have to go there a lot to deal with it. So that's what we're looking for that, is that perfect location for that. And then every other scrape is, like you said, the bulk of these scrapes that these guys find are the ones that get made out of frustration and anger. You know, they've either just been in a fight with another buck, or they've been chasing and they can't catch a doe to breed, so they make a scrape and they just gotta they're letting off some steam. They move on, they
Hmm.
thrash a bush, and they're over it. They're not coming back to that scrape because they're off chasing does again. And the chances of another deer utilizing that scrape are probably also small. So
Yeah.
if I find one of those along those are the kind you normally find along logging roads or things like that. As you walk along, oh, there's a scrape. There, you don't find 10 of them. You find one or
Yep.
two. So if you take those over, other deer will start to hit them as they walk by, and they'll become an active scrape at that point. So you can use
Hmm.
those to your advantage as well, to connect them in to the rest of your stuff. So because they
Sure.
do become an active, again, it won't be an everyday scrape. It'll be a travel way that deer go by, they hit it, they'll work it, and move on. It's not one I would
Yep.
dedicate a camera to.
The only times that I've had correlated bucks in an area or deer in an area is specific times of year, whether that's probably only a couple days or a week at a time. If you find an area that's congregated with those one-time use scrapes, is if that it's in an area close to where those deer are just hanging for that small period of time. Or
Yeah.
if there's a lot of bucks in your area, whether they're small, a lot of times there's a lot of subordinate deer in an area. Like you said,
Hmm.
they're sparring early in the year. They're just getting more and more aggressive as the season goes on. And then you could, if you time it right, which usually it's only a couple day period, but if you get in an area where there's just a lot of bucks that time of year, you can have luck hunting those maybe not community scrapes or those one-time
Yeah.
use scrapes is what I call them.
Right.
I don't focus my time and sit over those, but you can kind of correlate that to, oh, there's just a lot of deer in this area because they're just kind of knocking heads and kind of
And as
just
soon as those, and I kind of like that term, honestly, the one and done scrape. I like that. When those start to pop up, those are good lines to actually sit and hunt because they're going to be on a natural travel way for the deer, and all the deer are going to
yeah,
run those. So if a buck's chasing a doe and you got a doe come zinging by, you're probably going to have a buck come down that same runway. You know what I mean? And if he'll stop and make a scrape as he goes and chases her, and if you're over one and it's there, he's gonna hit it. So,
yeah. That's
those
like
are
you
you're
said.
right.
It can just tell a route of travel usually or where they like
Yeah,
to go. You just might not have success, and you'll find out quick if you do it. If you sit over one of those singular scrapes for a week on end, you might have a
yeah,
couple deer come through, but you're not going to have deer consistently hit that scrape if ever use it again. You'll see it firsthand. It just takes time and learning that
yeah.
how to differentiate them.
And that's kind of the thing with what we're doing. It's everybody wants instant success. They want it right now. They want everything to work right now, and that's fine. Instant success is great. We do get a lot of that. I mean, we get deer on our stuff fast. I mean, it
Mhm.
happens. I tell people within 48 most of the time, and it's usually quicker than that, but 48 hours is a pretty good window. So does that matter as much as the long term? And does it matter that you get something within 24 hours as much as it matters as you keep something for 6 months at a time? It took it 5 days before this buck showed up on that rope, but he's been there every other day for the last 6 months. He's been in the same spot. Okay, that's a win. It
Sure.
took five
Yeah.
days, and you were frustrated for 5 days because you weren't getting the pictures you thought you should get. But then, bang! Now that deer is there every single day or every other day. So, and that's the thing that we tell everyone that what we do, this isn't a this we set up for the long term, and this obviously goes for private property, and guys that have the ability to do that. And if you're on public land, the one and dones are great. You can do that too. You can go and spray this scrape magic on anything you want, and it's going to bring deer to it. So, but then do that, you better pick your right locations because there's a lot of guys around you on public land. Don't bring deer to them, bring them
Yeah.
away. But again, that's a whole nother thing there that we could talk about. So,
Right.
I just
What do you foresee? What are you seeing as far as scraping activity this time of year? Like what kind of is it more mature deer that are scraping right now, or like what? I kind of want to give people an outlook in your eyes of what this
right.
next week looks like. If someone say listens to this on Friday, how they can maybe
Right.
utilize a scrape this time of year. I know it's hard because
It's
it's kind of last minute and we're right in it right now, but
Well, no, I mean, it's kind of the same every year, honestly. You know what I mean? It's like the rut. I mean, the rut happens every year, just roughly the same time. Last year was weird. I won't deny that. It was late. It happened later than normal, but then the fawn drop seemed normal, so it couldn't have been late. You know what I mean? It just happened under our nose and we didn't see it. So I
yep,
think the utilization of these scrapes this time of year, we're at the very beginning of the peak of what's going to happen scraping wise. The Bucks are going to make the most scrapes from now until the 5th or 6th, 10th of November, say. My favorite window to be in the woods is from the 26th or 27th of October until about the 13th of November. That span of time is the wildest, the most fun. That's when you see the most crazy things happen. Lots of bucks scraping in that amount of time. So if you're going to experiment, now is the time because there is so much forgiveness from these bucks now because they don't care. They're almost to the stupid stage now. We're almost there. So
yep,
you're going to get them to come to these scrapes now more and easier than probably any other time as a one and done. That type of a situation for a guy that wants to just go out, finds a hot trail or whatever, wants to make a scrape and sit over it and hunt over it. Now is the time if you're going to do that, truthfully, from now until that second week of November, early in that second week of November, truthfully. So,
right. Because you're gonna have, let's just say, those first most mature deer, the first ones to get their doe and to lock themselves down with that doe. All the other bucks that are hanging around in that area, I feel like I've seen maybe the scraping activity picks up for them in that time because they don't have that hot doe. That mature buck
yep,
does.
yep.
So they're kind
And,
of
and,
saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm hitting this scrape." They're kind of making their presence known in a way.
and in my opinion, when before these bucks go onto this lockdown with the does right now, right? And the little ones are running around doing all their thing. Remember when back in late September, early October, all these guys were like, "Oh my God, my big bucks all disappeared. It's the October lull." Well, guess where they were? They were locked down on early does, breeding. That's where those early fawns come from. And now, guess what? They're going to be locked down again here in another few days,
Yep.
7 days probably. Those bigger bucks are going to be locked up again. So they're doing this twice a year in places like where I am. We're getting if there's no October lull, these deer are just locked up. They're breeding. And ain't nobody gonna convince me otherwise. Where else did they go? They don't just
Yep.
vanish. They're not ghosts. They did the same thing they do in November. They're just gone breeding a doe somewhere. If you
Hmm.
did the same thing in September and early October that you do in November on these big leases and ride around, you're going to find these big bucks standing on the edge of fields, standing over the does, just like you do then. Keeping them
Yep.
pinned. So that's where we're at with that. So it's hot now. It's the best time of the year, honestly. We wait for this I know.
It's that in between time, like you were talking about. It's the does. The majority of the does are not in heat yet, and they're searching. They're long lining, and they're opening up scrapes. They're putting their scent in places to say, "Hey, I'll be back." But you know, they're just putting down a lot of sign.
I've got a video right here. I've got a video from 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I put some of these new beads that I released in a scrape down here, and I've got my first doe walked up and she squatted right in the scrape. It's the first one of the year. So either triggered directly by the beads or she's getting ready, and it's not a young deer. It was probably a 3-year-old doe. So walked away with her tail straight out. So I'm assuming she was ready to rock when she left. So, but no, I didn't get any pictures of bucks yet in that scrape.
Sure. Yeah. And I think just to kind of, we'll start wrapping it up a little bit, but like you were
Okay.
saying too, it'd be good for someone who's like new to the scrape thing or wanting to focus on it too. Like you said, it's a long game. You need to learn them. You need to learn your area. You need to find where that location we've been talking about is, whether you're going to put a scrape there. I'm guessing there probably already is one there that you can focus on, but this is a good time
Mm-hmm.
of year to where, let's just say you're going into a new area or diving deeper into your property, whatever you may be doing, and the scrapes are open right now. whatever ones are getting
Hmm.
utilized and ones that are year to year scrapes, the ones that you're going to find that are hot every year are open right now. If at any time of year,
There's not a
they're going
leaf
to
on
be
the
open.
ground. Yep.
Yep, they're going to be open now. So you can find them now. And whether you don't hang a camera over them or monitor them, whether you hunt them now, but like for the long game, year to year after this is a good time to figure out where that is, hang a camera on it, start
Yep.
monitoring it now for the rest of the season and years after this to know when that scrape gets utilized and how deer use it.
Correct. And at the very least, drop a waypoint on X or whatever app you use, if you use an app. You know what I mean? On if you find as you find all these active scrapes, it can seem like a ton, but if somebody were to look at all the pins on some of my properties that I've been on, it's just a jumbled up mess of scrapes, and it's different colors for different kinds of scrapes. And if somebody
Yep.
else were to look at it, they wouldn't have a clue what it was,
Right.
but it's just my system. And that's the, I guess I've talked to a couple of guys, and I don't know that I've been, it's been said that maybe this a system isn't the right way to describe what I do, but I don't know what else to call it because it is a system. I'm doing more than one thing to get to an end goal, to create an end goal, I guess, is, you know what I mean? So it is
Yeah.
a whole entire system. It's not just one thing. We don't only use scrapes to do what we do. We utilize everything. We use food plots, we use water holes, we use natural stuff, we use ropes, we use all of these things to dictate the end goal, which is a grip and grin. You mean a dead deer at the end of that is that's the goal. So it is a whole system, and the system takes roughly 3 years to fully come to fruition. And it's the third year when you really go, wow, now it's the light bulb goes on in most guys' heads and they go, you were right. It does work like that, and by the fourth year, it's just fire. And it's totally not what people are used to because the consistency. And that could be a whole nother conversation that you and I could have, honestly.
Right.
I've got several properties now, several property owners that have killed 2 bucks. Each guy has killed 2 bucks, and their properties were in the third season when they killed their first one, and now I've killed an even bigger one on the fourth season. So it's the system works and progresses as you go because you expand and make things better.
Sure. So to wrap this all up, you kind of mentioned about Scrape Doctor, why you started it, some things about it. Let people know like what
Yeah,
your plans are for the future, what you foresee, how you foresee it going, kind of what you got going on, if there's anything new, stuff like that. Just kind of an update on everything.
yeah, yeah. It's just we're like I just mentioned the new beads. They're just it's the name of the beads is just beads chaos in a bottle. We call them that because they've just everywhere we've put them. We've been testing them for a little while now, just kind of on the down low, and they create pandemonium wherever we seem to put them. We're getting broken branches, ropes ripped out of trees, just things like that. So we've got those out now on a limited run. 50 jars is all I have, and they're selling pretty quick, so they're not going to last. As far as the future goes, I just kind of want to. We're growing. You know what I mean. We're growing, and I want to continue that pattern, obviously, as with growth. But I want to continue to keep helping people and teaching people and moving people along with this mock scrape thing and showing them that it's really not rocket science. It's not as difficult as everybody wants to make it out to be. And it's super effective. It used to be a really, really well kept secret. And now the cat's out of the bag with, everybody has a hemp rope now. There's hemp ropes everywhere for sale. So seems like every company has one, and that sometimes is daunting. When you're a small business, you go, wow, look at all these big companies now that are selling ropes. And then as I go to the post office every day, I go, well, doesn't matter who else has them, they're still buying ours. You know what I mean? So we're blessed that way that we're keeping things are going. We're doing well, and we're excited by it. And I don't see any reason that it'll change in the future. I don't, as far as new things other than these beads, I don't know. I'm not sure what more we could do. You know,
Yeah.
we've got a real long rope, that 4 footer. Got the intermediate, you know, with our just rope squared in our short one, and then our poison ivy. Got our estrus RX, the beads now, the scrape magic, and our drags. I mean, what more does a mock scrape company have to have? You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm not about the gimmicky stuff and all of that. I could come out with my own special rake and, you know, all of my diggers and whatever I needed to do to dig a scrape or make a scrape. But at that point, I don't know why. Why do I need to do that? I don't want to.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't see the need to do that. I'm in this to help these guys. Deer hunting's expensive. You know,
Yep.
it costs a lot of money to go do all of this, and that's the other goal for us is to keep this as affordable as we can, so everybody can do it and try it at least. You
Yep.
know, I tell everyone for under $20 you can get a bottle of Scrape Magic delivered to your door, and at least give us a try. And with one of the discount codes, it's going to be even cheaper than that. You know, so it's probably going to be the cheapest try anybody can get.
And you don't. It's kind of cliche, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. You can't change the special sauce. You know, it's
Right.
more tweaking what you already have to make it either, like you said, more affordable, more efficient for someone to use, or for the product to last longer. Like those couple of things are making your product, not changing it, but making it easier for people to use, afford,
Yeah. Yeah,
apply.
and those kind of things that any of those things I see a lot of, and you've seen it through the years too, where everybody seems to want to make this claim of new and improved. You know, you see that a lot. They change a product and they go, "Oh, new and improved." So then all the other ones that you sold were no good. What was wrong with the ones you sold already? If you had to improve, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Don't, in my opinion, if you're going to change it for the better, just change it for the better and move on with your day. Don't make a big production out of it, because then you're making people think that what you made before maybe wasn't so great. So
Right.
I don't see any reason.
I'd rather see someone market themselves as, you know, 20 years down the road, it being the same as it's always been and it's worked the
Yeah.
entire time. Like that says more to me, like you said, than every single year. There's not just scent companies, but other companies that, it seems like they're holding something back every year. They could jump 5 iterations of it to what they know is the best now, but they kind of hold a little back every year. So every year they kind of have something in their back
Well,
pocket to unveil.
there's a new piece of the pie becomes available every year by doing that, is what it amounts to, and increased sales. I mean, it makes perfect sense, I guess, business wise, but in my mind, my mind won't allow me to do that. I guess I don't. It doesn't make sense to me to do it. Look, everybody wants to make a lot of money. There's no question. I want to make money at this, right? But I don't want to
Yep.
make all my money off one or two guys. I want to make my money off 50 or 100 guys. So that means my stuff's more affordable. I'm going to sell more of them. This guy's going to sell 10 because they're $100. I'm going to sell 200 because mine are 20, and getting even better results than the guy that's selling his for 100. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with that too, is we're getting better results for way less money.
And doing it the way you're doing it, the only way that you grow organically is if your stuff works. You don't have to market it. You just gotta figure out how to get it in people's hands to give you, like you said, a shot. And the
You
results
have
speak
to
for
ride that
themselves.
organic wave. Um, there's a lot of peaks and valleys with the organic ride. You get a lot of
Yep.
highs, a lot of lows, but the highs are great. You know what I mean? When you get a high, you ride that as long as you can, and they're fantastic. You know, the
Yep.
lows suck no matter what you do, but you just got to, what you have. I just read a thing the other day or saw it. You have to embrace the suck. You know, Spencer Bracken
Yeah.
or Spencer Brackens that said that. You know, you have to embrace the suck, and he's not wrong. It is what it is. It's life. So
Yep.
that's where we're at now. We're just going to keep pushing forward and doing what we do. We've already lined up some shows for this year. We're going to be in Chippewa again. That's a great show for us in Indiana. Still talking about Harrisburg. We're probably going to be in Harrisburg. That'll get us in front of a lot of people.
Yep.
So that's the biggest show in the country. So
Yep. I've heard
we've
a
got
lot
a
of good
booth.
things about how the shows in Ohio too.
Yeah, we did the Columbus show, the open season show. We're not going back there. There's a couple other ones that we may do that are smaller than that. Just truthfully, it's just the open season circuit it's very expensive. The
Yep.
booth space, and it's just not worth it in the end. So
Sure.
we just won't do it. Um, so yeah, we've got three for sure right now that we're gonna do. We're gonna do Shipshewana, or we'll do Harrisburg first, then we'll go to Shipshewana, and then we're gonna go to Kansas City, Missouri for the Missouri Big Buck Classic show or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but good show
Sure.
they said, and we're excited to get to that.
And that's a good way for people to come out and actually talk to the people doing, like you, the person making it, been able to kind of not just be able to talk to you firsthand and explain everything
Yep.
and see it. It's
And everybody thinks, well, you sell a hemp rope, they're thinking it's just a rope, loose, floppy rope. Well, none of our ropes are floppy. Every one of them is stiff and rigid. I hate floppy ropes. Deer don't like them. Um, but that's why our stuff is like it is because trial and error, and I've used it, you know what I mean, for a lot of years and done a lot of different things. So, but
sure.
yep, I'm excited for the future, man. It's only going to get better and better from here, you know.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I'm excited to check some cameras the next 2 days that have been soaking with the scrape doctor and see kind of what's on 'em. I'm sure it's going to be exciting to see. So I appreciate you sitting down with me. Why don't you let everybody know where they can get their hands on some scrape doctor and some other products that you have, and then where
Yeah,
they can maybe see some instructional videos or more information on your stuff.
yeah, you can honestly, we're on all the socials. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. The bulk of our stuff is Facebook and TikTok at this point. Scrapedoctor.com is the website where you can go and buy all of our stuff. The scrape magic, the estrus, the beads, everything we have is there, the full line. There are a plethora of discount codes out there. The one that I hand out myself is Blake 200. It's a 10% code. It's from our Again, it's from the Bunker Hill Adventures. That's Aaron Blake. Um, he's been using our stuff for 4 years now. He was my biggest critic and my one of my biggest skeptics. And I gave him a rope and a bottle of scrape magic. And I said, well, here's a rope and a bottle. He's probably bought 40 ropes since he's sold. And that's where Bunker Hill Adventure is we'll be part of that forever, honestly. So look for that our stuff will be available through them as well. And we are available local here to where I live in Ellsworth, Michigan at Beck's Bait and Tackle. And then in Napanee, Indiana, we're in the Amish Center store there, and they've got a full line of stuff. But other than that, just on the scrapedoctor.com, the videos, go to Aaron Blake's TikTok page. There's a couple real good videos there of him setting up a rope and some with the beads as well. So folks can check it out there.
Cool. So if anybody's looking to get their hands on stuff, use code Blake 200, and
Yep.
it sounds like you can save a little coin there. But yeah, that's all I got for you. I appreciate you hopping on with
All
me.
right. Yeah, it's happy time. I'm ready to go now. I haven't even hunted yet, and I'm ready to do it. So
Yeah, I will keep you posted about the next couple of days, but hopefully you do the same. I'm excited to see some of the stuff you got going on too.
yeah, I'm gonna do some TikTok lives here in the next few days from the woods. So we'll see if I can maybe put one on the ground on TikTok live, or at least on video. I don't know. I'm not trying real hard to do the video hunting thing anymore, but we got one. We did get a kill on video yesterday, um, in Ohio. The one that the lady I posted today, her first buck, we did get that one on video. So that video I'm actually going to put that one on TikTok because I've got the
Cool.
impact. She got him and dropped him. So I'll be able to flash a picture across at the drop and not get kicked off TikTok. So no one want to hurt their feelings.
Absolutely. Well, James,
All
aka the
right.
Scrape Doctor, I appreciate your time. We'll catch back up soon.
I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Alrighty, sounds good. That's all for the show.
All right.